The tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at Flask and S3. So let me quickly run you through what's going to happen. So it's going to be a bit of a longer one today. We're going to go through basically like a whole flow, start to finish, on small file uploads. So that'll be anything probably under 20 meg. So we're looking at things like profile images, PDFs, those kinds of things. So what we have here, basically these images here are loading from S3. I've just got a bunch of fake users. I have a bunch of photos here, so I'm going to upload a photo for this user, and then it's going to basically upload it to an S3 bucket, and then these are coming through using pre-signed URLs, which are the safest option for private buckets. So yeah, let's get into it. Let me clean this project up, and we'll start from scratch. The level of knowledge is not high, but to start, there's no real complex things in here. You will need to know a bit of Flask, and you will obviously need to know your way around AWS a teeny bit. It's not essential to know a great deal. All right. So the first thing that we want to do, basically, I have created some users and I put them in a database. You can set this up however you want. The source code will be down in the description on GitHub. So I basically have a user, I have an ID, we have a name, and then we have these two fields with these file names, provided file name and stored file name. Because basically we're going to store their file name with a random UUID, and then we will give it back to them with whatever file name they gave us, say, profile picture.jpg or something like that. Let me get rid of this quickly. Right, so then I just have a function to get all the users, I have a function to create the user, and I am going to remove that. Right, now we're back on track. So, in this app, we basically have a home route, which you can see. We have this sign up new user, and we have this upload image. So let's have a look quickly what's happening. So we come here, and I will say Kieran, create the user. It comes into the table. We can see there's no image, user ID of 1. It's not a very secure, it's incremental. And then we have just an SQLite database working there. So the first thing we want to do is basically we want to implement a form. And we want to implement a form that can basically accept images. And so one of the key parts here is to have a multi-part form data. And that basically allows you to send images and files. So apart from that, it's pretty similar. We've just got a post and we have an action URL from Flask, right? This is our upload image route. User ID is the user ID which comes from each individual user in a loop. So nothing out of the ordinary. It's actually nothing too complex. So when we click the button, it'll come here, it'll upload the image. So let's just do that. So let's just say print trigger ring image upload. Let's choose a file. Doesn't really matter because it's not going to go anywhere. And we can see that we've triggered the image upload. Cool, so all is working. Now, after we have done that, basically what we want to do is, within this, we need to start looking at the file. So let's head back. Let's remove this line. Let's give ourselves a few lines. Let's take this terminal off. And then let's basically get the file. Now, we need to rule out a few things first. So the file is in requests.files. So if I print the request.files, cool. So I'll upload that again. We can then see that we have this file, right, within our immutable dictionary. So that's good. But we basically need to say, all right, if this is our only route that accepts this, right, it doesn't accept anything other than a file. So we kind of want to rule out a few things. So there are a couple of things in Flask that we need to do. So we say if a file, now this is the name of your actual form name here. So this comes from this, right? This is the key value in the immutable dictionary, which comes from the name here. So if you had a couple of files, so you say file 1, then you change that to file 1, but let's keep that as file. So we say if file not in request files, and then we basically I'm going to use Flask's flash method, and I'm just going to say no file uploaded, and then we'll give that a danger. If you want to look at Flash messages, you can look that up. Then I'll simply just return a redirect. Return redirect, and then I will say URL for home. Cool. So let's go test that quickly. So I'm actually just going to submit. Might not have reloaded. Has it reloaded? Let's try it again. Actually, that might have worked because, well, let's print request.files. Print. It could be empty. I believe Flask will send me so they still send you the file, but the file name is empty. So let's take care of that quickly. So let's then say, this is the file name. Let's call this file to upload. Upload, because it's actually the file. And we'll say request.files, and then because we can now safely assume that we have this, even if the file name is null. So let's say file, and then let's say if file to upload dot file name, because this is a type of file, is equal to an empty string, then we are going to do the exact same thing. We're going to say no file uploaded. This is just the way the web browser works. If you were using an API and you were sending through these files, this is required here because you can actually send through nothing. This is just the Flask way of processing it. So let's quickly have a look at that. There you go. So no file uploaded. So that's good. So we've taken care of that. We have the file. We know it exists in the array if we get to this point. So we'll say if file to upload, and then we what we want to do is we basically want to set a file type, right? A couple of file types that we'll accept. So let's come in here and let's what we're going to do is we're going to say we're going to have some allowed file types, and let's make that an array of strings. Let's make a dictionary, and let's say give them PNGs. We'll do JPG, and we'll do JPEG. And you can do whatever you want. You can put PDF, you can yada, 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 right? But we're just going to accept images. because that's smart, right? It's basically it's a profile image. You don't want a PDF as your profile image, do you? Right. So we are then going to basically say, let's call this is file type allowed, and we'll take in a file name from here. And to do that, we're going to need to get the file type, right, from the actual file name. So let's get the file type. So let's return, let's do that in file name, and let's do file name dot split. So this is basically just, let's do an split, and we can do that on a dot, and we can take the first, and let's take that and to lowercase. There are plenty of other ways to get the file name, the file type, like .jpeg, etc. out, but this is just an easy way. And so let's just say return get file type, and let's pass it in the file name, which calls the one above, and then I'm just going to say in allowed file types, right? So this is basically going to say, whoop, is the file type in this array? And if it is, okay, yes, the file type is allowed to be uploaded. If it's not, then, well, we'll basically, so let's link this up. So let's save that. Oh, let's come back here, and we're going to come here, and we'll say is file type allowed, and I'm going to pass in the file name, which is basically going to be what? It's going to be a file to upload and the file name. Cool. Then remember how we were storing a provided file name and we were storing it as a different file name? So let's take care of that now. And there is one thing that you should do, provided file name. So this will be something like, profile picture.jpg or something like that. So there is this secure file name function that comes from the workser, or whatever, however you pronounce that. Don't make me pronounce it. That comes from that. And so basically what it does is it makes sure that your file names can't be something like backslash dot dot backslash dot dot. So you can't kind of navigate a file tree. And if you're ever going to store them locally, this is crucial, but it's good practice to just make a secure file name, right? Then let's say a stored file name. So let's create a stored file name now. And let's basically say, what should we do? So let's come in here and let's see this upload file to S3, and maybe it can return us a file name. So to upload the image to S3, what you are going to basically need is the Boto3 library. So we can come in here and we can say import Boto3. Then we can basically say, you'll need some credentials. Now, to get your credentials, I'm not going to do it. You can come here, go security credentials, and then within there is, you can then get security keys. So you'll generate one, and it will give you an access key and a secret key. So this just assumes, obviously, that you have an AWS account, etc., and know your way around it. So there's plenty of stuff online. I have them, already saved in a config file, this config.py, just so you can't see them. My access key, and I have a secret key. And then let's call it S3, and then let's say from Boto3, which you'll have to pip install. Client, right. And then the client wants a few things. But the first thing it wants is what kind of client you want. So we want to use S3. Then we're going to say AWS. I will be back in 1 sec. I'm just going to copy and paste this little section. So basically it wants a secret key, a region name, and an access key. So that's fine. So let's place all that in there. Cool. Move these over. Right. So now we have this Boto3 client. If you need more information, look it up or send me a message. So what do we want? We need a bucket. So I assume that you've created a bucket already. We should probably make it not public, unless you want it to be public. But for me, if it's a private application, then I don't want public access. So it doesn't mean that you cannot. Doesn't mean that you can't. Serve links to people. It just means that no one can access it via a link unless you serve them a pre-signed URL. So that's fine. So so you can create a bucket. That's free. So you can go ahead and do that as long as you're not storing or I think mine's called YouTube S3 Flask. Cool. So I have my bucket name now, and that's pretty good. So let's do it. So from the S3 library, so you want to say S3 dot, and then you can upload the file from your local storage, but because we already have it as an object, right? We have ours as an object coming in from Flask. So instead of storing it on our server and then getting it and uploading it, we might as well just upload it. So let's just get ours. I'm in the wrong function, aren't I? So I've got my file, and then what do we want to do? So this takes a bucket name. It's not going to come up. S3. Seriously. Oh, what am I doing? S3 bucket name. And then it also wants a file name to store it with. So let's say this is stored file name. And then let's just call this, let's do an F string. And let's just take the string of I'll have to put this here, won't I? Let's take the string of a UID. So UID.UID4. No, hang on. UID4. Thank you. Import UID. Cool. Then I'm going to put a dot. And then we are going to basically use the file type. So let's do get file type on the provided file name. Right. So then this should just look like a bunch of random, it should look like a UID, and then it'll just have a .png on the end. So that's fine. That's usually how I store them. And then we can pass this, so this is the file name that they'll store it as. File, bucket, storing. Cool. And then I'm going to return the stored file name. Awesome. So let's copy this. let's go to our app. Let's save this. Go to our app, and then we say stored file name, and we'll say upload to S3. Then when we're uploading to S3, what we basically want to do is we want to give it the file to upload, because if we look here, so we get the file and then the provided file name. So let's say file to upload, and let's say provided file name, which is now the safe file name, right? This is the secured file name, so that's fine. We have the stored file name, awesome. So let's quickly test that out. I'm just going to say flash here. Let's do an f string, and let's do that. And let's say provided file name was successfully uploaded. And then we're just going to say success. Cool. So that's that taken care of. Now let's have a look. I'm sure I've stuffed something up. Cannot import allowed file types from file handler. That would make sense, because in a previous run of this, I changed the file name. Right, let's go again. There we go. So let me upload something. Say Flask transparent logo. I'm going to submit that. Now currently we're not storing this information anywhere. Obviously we're storing the image in the bucket. Cool, so that worked. Let's go back to objects. And I can see one, no. If I reload, I think my browser is caching a version of this, so let's reload. But we can see our nice little, a nice little flash message there, which is good. Right, so we can see that one just uploaded, which is good because that's the current time. So that works out well. Right, so we have the image up in S3, which is good, right? It never touched our servers, so it's perfect. So then let's just quickly link this file to this user, right? But so that we can actually download them. Because otherwise, right now, they're just currently going to the cloud, but they're just sitting in a bucket, and we have no idea who owns what UID. So let's basically we have a function called set user profile picture names, and pretty simple. All I'm going to do is basically just get the user and update theirs. So let's do statement. It's going to be equal to a select. Get the user. And this is a pretty real world situation. I'll just dumb down. Let's say where user ID equals user ID that we pass through. That's our statement. And let's say user equals session dot scalars, and let's do a statement, and let's do 1. So we get 1 result. It'll throw if it doesn't get 1. That's fine. You can do it differently if you want. User dot provided file name equals provided file name, and then let's do user dot stored file name. Gosh darn. Cool. And then let's just say session.commit. Once again, all this will be in the description, but basically all we're doing is we're setting the user file names, the provided and our stored one. So this stored one will be the one in S3, and this provided file name will be the one they gave us. So that's how that works. So let's just go back. And let's say this was called set user profile. Set user profile picture names. Cool. And the first one is user ID. So we'll say user ID, which we get from the basically the controller here. And then we will say stored file name. It would be nicer in the other way, but anyway. And let's do the provided file name. So this now should set and link that. So let's have a look quickly. So upload this robot again. Submit that. And then we'll come here and I have a very I have some code real quick. Right, let's go again. Okay, robot was successfully uploaded. Sorry, I had some code from before. And then I can see here now that we have our provided name. This is just an SQLite plugin. And then we see our stored file name is 20A. Come up to S3. It's going to take its sweet time, but we'll see that 20A is there. There it is. Awesome. So let's basically just link these up and then we're good. So let's do a pre-sign URL. So remember, it is a closed bucket, so you can't actually get into the bucket, but you can with a pre-sign URL. So a pre-sign URL basically allows someone to give access to a certain resource for a certain amount of time. So we get to basically choose how long do we want people to have access to this for, etc. So, and then without that link, it doesn't work. So you get to basically say, maybe it's 10 seconds, maybe you only want to give them an hour. All right. So let's say if not stored file name or not provided file name, and then let's just return. We don't want to do anything if the file names are empty. But let's say someone gives us a legit file name, 2 legit file names. So let's say S3, and then this is this generate pre-signed URL, and then it takes a few things. So the first one is what you want to do. So we want to get object. We then say params equals, we're going to put some curly braces in, and then we need a bucket name. So I have my bucket name there, right? So let's just say here, so it's just key value. So it's bucket, and then I'll say S3 bucket name. Then you can do a key, which is your file name. Remember, the file name is how we stored it, so that is the stored file name. The last thing we want to do, and I'm going to copy and paste this, but the last thing we want to do is basically set this. And what this does is basically downloads this file as the provided file name that they gave us. It's not crucial, you don't have to do it, but it's just nice if you have, say, a PDF, someone uploaded the PDF, you store it as a random string, and then you re-download it as, whatever they gave it to you in. So then let's just do S3 expires in, and then I'll do seconds, so we actually know what it is, because this is basically what it does. Let's say 100 seconds. That's plenty of time to load the web page, etc. And here it's called expires in, and then I'll say S3 expires in seconds. Awesome. Now, this is not doing anything yet, but I'm just going to do a bit of a hack here sort of thing. So on the user class, and this is just going to make it easier in this is going to make it easier in Ginger 2. Get profile picture URL. It's going to take itself, and we're going to go here. And we're just going to get the pre-signed URL. So that'll actually return a URL as a string, so that's kind of easy. And so then I can just get the stuff off the user, right? Now, you probably don't want to do this too much because it's pulling one component into another that shouldn't, but for the sake of this video, it's what I'm going to do. Now, on my image, I'm going to say, now we can just basically say, right, user.get pre-signed profile URL, and if we come back here, I can see that now these profile pictures load, right? And so that's it. It's literally that easy. If I create a new user, so I say not Kieran, we can see that my profile picture is broken. If you really wanted to, you could even do something like this, and you could say if user dot provided file name and user dot stored file name do this, and then you could say something else, and then you could just do like, I don't know, a P and just say no image. Cool, and then and if. Awesome. So that's pretty much it. This one says no image, this one's got an image. That's how it's going to work. You can do whatever you want. I'll provide the source code, but let me know if you need any help with other topics. But it's quite simple once you get into it, as it's just a key value store, real simple. But it does take a little bit of, a little bit of setting up and things like that. But overall, it's quite simple and easy to use. So yeah, I'd highly recommend it. But give it a go and shoot me a comment if you're stuck on anything. Awesome. See you in the next one.